have to let it drop. Let it drop.
Detroit Lions fans, welcome back in. Detroit Den 313, Steve and Will, your favorite. A lot of people have been saying that we're the favorite Detroit Lions podcast, man. That's truly appreciated. That's motivation for us. Hammer that subscribe button. Also, shout out to some new members from yesterday's draft recap show. Fab Five Bad Boys, Jason Frick, and Jeff Fulton all joining up as members. I think that brings us to 70, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check that. Once we hit 100, massive giveaway. We're going to be doing some jerseys, some gift cards. I'm going to try my damnedest to get my hands on an autographed helmet. I don't know what I'm going to have to do, but we're going to try to do something. Will, draft recap was yesterday. I think we put out a phenomenal episode, gave a lot of people who weren't familiar with some names, some information. Detroit Lions aren't done. Just because the draft's over doesn't mean we're not adding some more new talent. What you got for us today?
Steve, today we're going to be talking about some undrafted free agents, and we're also going to be talking about maybe some free agents, maybe just some free agents. You know what I mean? So undrafted free agents, we got a list here. I believe as it stands right now, the Detroit Lions have signed 9 out of the 10 undrafted free agents that they're allotted to be able to sign. We're looking at running backs, receivers, safeties, couple O-linemen, a corner. I mean, do any of these guys throughout the list interest you?
Yeah, there's one for sure that interests me, Will. There's one. And I mentioned him yesterday in our draft recap show. I didn't have a lot of time to dive in yesterday, but I did say that it's very interesting that Zidarius Smith's nephew has signed a UDFA deal with the Detroit Lions. Jackson Meeks from Syracuse. I always get Syracuse and Clemson mixed up. Jerseys just look too similar. But from Clemson, Jackson Meeks, former Will, do you know where he went to college before he transferred to Syracuse? Do you know? Any hints? Go Dogs. You know we like them Georgia Bulldogs, don't we? So former Georgia Bulldog transferred to Syracuse, had a decent little season. Well, he had a decent little season last year with Syracuse, 78 catches, over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. Again, this was a high-powered offense. They had Kyle McCord as their quarterback. I think he broke every passing record known to man. Absolutely lit it up for Syracuse. And Jackson Meeks was on the other end of that and complemented it very well and benefited very well. Now he's coming to Detroit, undrafted free agent deal. I'm curious to see if he's my next Isaiah from last year. I'm curious to see if he makes this team, what his role is going to be. He's someone I've got my eyes on.
Steve, from years past, what I've learned about undrafted free agents, for the most part, it's not as much about the player initially that I need to pay attention to. I need to follow the money. It's about the money. It's all about, as they say, the money game. The money game. So when you mentioned Jackson Meeks, the first thing that I recognized is Detroit Lions gave him $200,000 as a signing bonus. So with that said, who else did they give a nice lion's share signing bonus?
Isaiah,
the guy you mentioned,
big deal last year.
Isaiah, yeah, and he was on the bubble of making the squad. So I think if you look at the signing bonuses, only 2 players as it stands right now got them. It was the tight end from Lake Orion and as well as Jackson Meeks. So I think that's breadcrumbs as it stands right now. Now, I'm going to try to say this as humbly and as minimally offensive, because I'm not trying to offend any of these young guys trying to make teams. Steve, none of these guys are making the Detroit Lions roster. And again, I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm just being honest. Even when you think about Meeks, the hope for him is he can get on the practice squad, try to develop, maybe get a special teams role, get on a team that way. But when you talk about our receiving core, it's just a tough situation. We got 2 young rookies that I think are going to be fighting to insert themselves into these lineup. We got veteran guys like Tim Patrick. We got the dogs and Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's just a tough roster to break into. Again, nothing against these guys. I think I was looking before my man Ian out of Grand Valley State. He's a guy who's a ball hawk, man. He had a nice a nice career out there playing some Division II football. I think that if he wanted to transfer, he could have transferred and maybe play some D1 ball. Ball hawk back there at safety. Some of these guys might go make some other teams. Keith Cooper is another one. He's an edge. 280 pounds. Big, strong guy, kind of versatile, plays all over the D line, but it's just a really hard roster to break into. Even the tight end that they paid, I'm not even going to try to. Caden here from Ole Miss.
Priestcorn? Priestcorn, I think that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, you're a better man than me because I wasn't even going to go on that road. But if you think about the Detroit Lions, you got Brock Wright and Sam Laporta. That's pretty much sealed. Then you got the Yoboda from that we got from the Jets, who's just basically another tackle. He blocks his butt off. And then you got Shane Zylstra. I don't see him breaking into that group, man. It's just a tough situation right now if you are a free agent. So, Steve, as you go through that list of guys, do you see anybody that you're planning on breaking the roster in Jackson Meeks? And even Jackson Meeks, it looks like he's fighting an uphill battle.
I've taught you well, William. I've taught you very well to follow the money, follow the clues, follow what Brad Holmes says and does. I'm very proud of you. This is a growing moment for William at Detroit Den 313. He's finally catching on. Sometimes just following the clues. But I think you're right, and you're saying it very politely. Upward battle is exactly the word I was going to use. I talked about it, how I didn't think that the Detroit Lions were going to make 7 draft picks. And I thought that if we did, I thought the bottom 2 might be really fighting an uphill battle themselves. And that's draft capital that's important. All right. 7th rounders, regardless. Draft capital is draft capital. Now we're talking about bringing in some guys off the streets. $200,000, you and me, that's life-changing money. Like I'm pretty set. You give me $200K, but that's nothing to the Ford family. All right. It's a lot of money for a kid. Like he can set himself up real nicely, but that's really nothing to bring someone into camp. But I will say that he's going to be someone to watch. I think he's out of all the players that we'll talk about as undrafted free agents, he's going to be given the biggest opportunity probably out of all of the undrafteds, because I looked at Hendon Hooker last year with Isaiah Williams, and he damn near made the team. Now I look at this wide receiver room that's deeper than it was last year, and Isaiah Williams couldn't crack it. So Jackson Meeks is going to have to do something really, really extraordinary throughout training camp and preseason games to even have a chance at sniffing that wide receiver room, because it's loaded. I don't, and you're right. This is just a deep team. It's going to be hard for anyone to make it. Where I do see someone having a glimmer of hope at making it is maybe a Keith Cooper from Houston, just because, and I'm not even talking because he plays edge. I just look at, we don't have a lot of edges that are on long-term contracts right now. Like Marcus Davenport, 1-year deal. Levi, 1-year deal. Josh Pascal, 1-year deal. Can Keith Cooper throw his name into the mix and maybe do something special in training camp and preseason? I hope so. I'd like to see him be interesting. I like his size. I think he's like I think he's about the same size as Levi Onwuzurike. Have to do a little bit more film study on him. Some of these kids, it's a little hard to find some film study. So we're digging the archives, trying to find some stuff. But my initial thoughts are he probably has a good chance. I'm interested in Meeks because of what they paid him, and he's going to be given a great opportunity. But this is a Super Bowl caliber winning offense. Like, this is a top offense in the NFL. So it's going to be extremely hard. Look at what we drafted. A bunch of offensive linemen. So the offensive linemen that we're bringing in on UDFA deals are going to be hard to make the team. Gavin Holmes from Texas, like, he'd probably make another roster. Why he chose to come to Detroit, I don't know, but I just don't see it with how deep our secondary room is. Like, I just can't look at a single room on this Detroit Lions team and say, yeah, this player has a really good chance, because we're just loaded. Like, if we could just stay healthy, we're set. So I don't know. I'm looking at some of these kids to make the practice squad, and then we'll probably end up getting poached halfway through the season, kind of like the Cincinnati Bengals did to us last year with Isaiah. But making the team, there's no one that's really standing out to me right now, but those are probably my 2 front horses.
Yeah, I'm in a complete agreement with everything that you said, other than even the potential of Keith Cooper Jr. making this team, man. I can't see it. I was able to locate some film on him, and I don't know that he's going to be able to offer anything on special teams. Now you got to just make the team. I can't see it. The best case scenario is going to be practice squad. And I could see maybe some of these guys securing practice squad positions, but it's going to be a matter of, can you even beat out the reserves? A guy that you love was a Goudet, man, and can you beat out guys like that? I don't know that that's going to be the situation, because our reserves are going to be in situations where they're fighting to get practice squad roster slots, man. So that's basically what all of these guys are fighting for. They're fighting to make the practice squad. Again, I'm gonna say Jackson Meeks is probably the only one that's got a true blue shot for me, man. But then, I mean, we got guys that have historically held roster spots for 10, 15 years on our practice squad, like TKA5. So I mean,
he's gonna break through one day, Will. This might be
what I mean? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So how you gonna take a spot from that guy, man? I just don't see it. Maybe Meeks on a practice squad, but outside of that, man, like I said, these guys are pretty much fighting an uphill battle. But I will say this, Steve, there is a free agent out there that the Detroit Lions should be taking a very strong look at it, and that's none other than Zidarius Smith. I said it yesterday, right, after we did our draft recap, and I'm gonna say it again. What would make this draft an aid to me, outside of watching it unfold and just watching Jahmyr Gibbs rush for 1 million yards? The only thing that makes it even better is us signing Zidarius Smith. Because if you add Zidarius Smith, I'm going to look at him as a draft pick. I'm going to look at him as, hey, Brad had already had a bit of a conversation. Hey, if this thing unfolds a certain type of way, we're going to be aggressively looking to seek your services back here in Detroit. And if that's the case, it makes even more sense what happened over these last 3 days during the draft, man. So, Steve, as it stands right now, post NFL Draft 2025, are you interested in re-signing Zidarius Smith?
I was interested before. When we talked about him, I said, he could kind of change my draft strategy. Now that our draft's done and set, I think he would be an excellent addition. Just bring him back. I don't know what the price tag is. I know Brad and his agent haven't been in contact. I'm familiar with all the comments Brad's made about him. I don't know what it would take. I don't know what the price tag's looking like, but I would love to see Zidarius Smith and Aiden Hutchinson playing opposite of each other. I thought Zidarius Smith was at his best when he had Myles Garrett in Cleveland. When he came to Detroit, we put a lot of pressure on him to be the guy. That was due to injuries. He kind of had to play that role. I think if we bring him in now and we have a couple guys on the defensive line, a Tyleek Williams, a Lee McNeil when he comes back, Aiden Hutchinson, are we talking about Zidarius Smith potentially being your third or fourth best pass rusher who's an athletic freak? I think that creates a lot of problems, Will. I think it creates a lot of problems. On top of that, did Brad Holmes, is he playing a little chess here with some of these undrafted free agents, bringing in his nephew, Jackson Meeks? Because I'll tell you right now, like if I was Zidarius Smith and I had a chance to play football with my nephew, even if it's just throughout training camp and preseason, or if he makes the practice squad and he's still out there at Ford Field on game days, I think that would be absolutely awesome. I'd probably take a pay cut to have that opportunity, but I know Zidarius Smith, like I say, he's on the back nine of his career. He's probably looking for that one final payday, right off into the sunset, enjoy his retirement. I don't know what his mindset is, but I would absolutely love him here. I wanted him here before the draft started. He was a top free agent that I wanted to return to the Detroit Lions while we were talking about free agency. I just wish I knew what that price tag was, because I know we have a few bucks out there to still spend. So I don't know what he's looking at, but if I'm Brad Holmes, maybe I'm calling up the agent after the draft and saying, hey, did anything change? Like, does he want to come back? Like his girlfriend's, I think she's a rapper from Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. Cash Doll is her name. I don't know exactly what she does. I'm not familiar with the hip hop world, William. I'm not really my scene, but while we're talking of Jackson Meeks, I'm gonna start calling him Meek Mill. I know that's a famous rapper. So yeah, here we are. I know about drip. I know about all that stuff. Aura. Like,
okay, back to football. Back to football.
But please. Absolutely, Zidarius Smith really, really, really would complete this roster.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I need him. I need him on this roster, because when Zidarius Smith first came to the Detroit Lions, we've told this story. I think both of us have told this story. But for those that aren't familiar with the story, he came to the Detroit Lions. Through the trade, he was going to miss his bye week. So Brad said, instead of putting you right out there, I'm going to give you the first week off so you can have some time to spend some time with your family, get yourself acclimated to the Detroit, move. And some of the time we forget that these guys are human beings. These guys need to uproot their families and themselves and move to a different city and location and get themselves situated with somewhere to stay, right? So under that understanding, he got that week off, but instead of just checking out, he showed up to the game and he was coaching. He was coaching the guys on the field. He was showing the guys. And from that halftime to the second half, we seen improvement. And I believe Alquin Muhammad even talked about some of the things that Zidarius mentioned helping him immediately. So that said, getting Zidarius back into that room, that veteran leadership, that veteran knowledge, I think is huge. And when a guy that everybody has seemed to already fall in love with Ahmad Hassanin, that people are like, and me included, this guy is already a Detroit fan favorite, man. This dude said that he would die for Coach Campbell and he would die for his brothers. Listen, getting an opportunity to work with Zidarius for a guy who only has 5 years of football, 1 year of high school, 4 years at Boise State, I think it would be huge for him. That idea excites me as well. I say, Brad, pay this man. Obviously, we can't give him a crazy contract or anything. That's unbelievable. Pay him something fair. Get him back to Detroit, and let's go ahead and just go win a couple of Super Bowls. What are we talking about here? Let's stop messing around, man, because I think Zidarius Smith could be the missing piece. And when I look at this defensive line, I'm excited about this defensive line with Aleem McNeil, with DJ Reader, right? Just right out of the gate. Then we start talking about Tyleik Williams. We start talking about Aiden Hutchinson. We start talking about Marcus Davenport. We start talking about Levi Onwuzurike. I think that we're going to get better D-line play than a lot of people are thinking that we're going to get, even though we didn't reach and go sign an edge rusher. And when I say reach, I mean make a crazy trade to where we were going to lose a lot of draft value, maybe not only our second round pick, but also maybe a pick next season, that was upper echelon, second round or first round pick, to go up there and sign one guy. Because I truly believe we got 2 day one starters in our first and our second round pick. And potentially our first 3 pick could be day one starters, because I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla was out there playing X receiver, Steve. So would you be surprised if Tesla came out and beat out Tim Patrick through camp and he was out there playing out wide, getting reps at that X receiver spot?
I'm kind of banking on it, if I'm being honest with you. I love Tim Patrick. I think he started playing good football toward the end of the season, but Tesla's younger. He's younger. He's 6'4". He's faster, better hands. I think he's an upgrade, but the experience is on Tim Patrick's sides for sure. He's just an experienced football player. He's been through a lot of injuries. He's been through the ups and downs, knows how to play football, knows how to be a pro. But Tesla is coming in as a young, hungry kid. So I look to see that competition and who wins that. But, well, if I'm reading this right, I was doing a little digging while you were doing some talking. I'm looking like the Detroit Lions have about $42 million in cap space still. Now, free agency's done. The draft's done. I know we got to sign our draft picks, and I don't know how much that's going to cost, but I know there's still going to be some money left over. Am I crazy to say, hey, Zidarius Smith, here's $10 million for 1 year? That's the same deal we gave Marcus Davenport last year, and we got a whole, 6 snaps out of him. I think that's a more than friendly deal for a player at this juncture in his career for Zidarius Smith. 1 year, 10 mil. You guys are already familiar with it. What's stopping you from signing that contract? I don't know. It seems like a good deal to me. If I have to bump that up to 12, I'm still good with it. Will, bring this guy in. He helps with our pass rush. He bumps all of our other pass rushers back to role players and waves of pass rush that I've been talking about since day one. I don't see why 10 to 12 million for 1 year breaks the bank or makes anything crazy. I think it's a fair deal for both sides. How would you feel about something like that?
I think the problem is going to be, I think Zidarius wants more than that. I think that's the problem. He probably wants more than that. I did see him post about being one of the, I believe, top 5 or at least top 10 guys in pressures last year. I believe it was top 5, and he was like, "Hey, the numbers don't lie. You're not gonna find what I do for cheap. You gotta pay. You get what you pay for, or whatever." He commented or whatever. So I think that's the bottom line. I think you're gonna have to get and start dabbling around that 15 number, that 15 mil, and I'll be honest. I'd be willing to pay it for one season, and I'd be willing to pay 13 mil or 10 to 13 million over 2 seasons to secure him for 2 seasons because he's on that back nine, right? He's on that retirement contract. So you tell him, you say, hey, listen, man, we're not willing to just give you a 15 or 16 million dollar contract for a season, but maybe you secure yourself 2 more paydays and you take 12 million or you take 13 million or whatever, and we'll give you 2 seasons, kind of similar to the Graham Glasgow deal. I mean, he's on the back nine of his career, but he got a multi-year deal instead of a 1-year deal. Maybe you offer Zidarius that and he's a little bit more interested, and now you got guys like Hassanin who get an opportunity to develop over a couple seasons, have him with them for a couple of seasons, and then maybe you turn over the keys to somebody like that. Next year you get an opportunity to get a edge in here potentially if the stars align. So I would not mind offering a little less money and putting an extra year on it, or bumping up a couple of million because we picked up Aiden Hutchinson's 5th-year option, so we got a little buffer time. Even though we're going to set his contract, we can set that big money to start when we're taking Zidarius off the books. But Brad, please figure it out. He wants to be here. You know what I'm saying? He wants to be here, man. I know Brad. I know those pockets are tight. He's a penny pincher, man. He's looking towards that future. He's looking towards paying all of these guys, Brian Brandt, Sam Laporta. But some of these guys are going to be coming off of the books. Graham Glasgow, he'll be coming off of the books, man. You'll have a guy potentially like DJ Reader could be coming off of the books, man. And then Zidarius could be a guy, even though we're putting him back on the books, he could be coming off of the books. So as much as we have guys that we're going to have to pay, we're going to have some solid contracts coming off of the books. Taylor Decker's another one. His contract could be something that maybe we could get off the books, and maybe we could get out of it even early and take a little penalty if we do the right thing. So, Steve, this is something that I'm looking out for, how Brad handles the financials. But right now, as people say, F those picks, I'm saying F those financials. Just to get Zidarius Smith in here under something that's fair. Maybe, Brad, you bend a couple mil here or there. Just answer the phone when his agent calls you.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how much the draft picks are going to cost, but there's going to be money left over. A 2-year deal, 18 mil, 13 guaranteed, nice little signing bonus. Zidarius. I think that's a fair deal. If I'm your agent, I'm handing that to you. If I'm Brad Holmes, I'm handing that to you. I think it's great. I think it fixes a lot of questions on our team, Will, but you're absolutely nuts thinking Brad Holmes is going to draft an edge high somewhere in the draft next year. Just absolutely nuts, because we've been calling for that for 3 seasons and it ain't happened yet. So I get what you're saying, though. I think it just kind of kicks the can down the road. There's money there. We'll have contracts falling off. Like you mentioned, Graham Glasgow, his contract will be falling off. Honestly, within 2-3 years, Frank Ragnow, he might not be on the team. I know he's kind of flirting with that retirement and playing golf and fishing for the remainder of his days, which is more than fine. He's been a warrior. It's just there's money there. We can make this happen. And I think if you're telling me that on Thanksgiving Day, we're rolling out Zidarius Smith, Aiden Hutchinson, Tyleek Williams, and Aleem McNeil, that might be the most athletic defensive line in the NFL, William. It might be. Tyleek Williams, rookie, but he's a problem. Aleem McNeil, he's a problem. He's a Pro Bowler. Zidarius Smith, he's Batman, or he's Robin, while Hutch is playing Batman. Like I just fantasize about this defensive line, and Zidarius Smith is the perfect addition. I think this deal needs to get done.
There's a few things that the NFL should be praying doesn't happen this year.
Detroit Lions stay healthy, number one.
That is it. It was all wrapped around that just in general, right? So that Marcus Davenport doesn't stay healthy, because if we're looking at a D line when Aleem McNeil comes back that involves Marcus Davenport, good night, because now I can use a guy who I like. I know a lot of people don't love him, but in Levi Onwuzurike, I can use him as a rotational piece that doesn't have to carry the brunt of the load up for the Detroit Lions, man. And then I can play games with, and I haven't even talked about this, on air yet, but hey, man, I can play games every now and then and throw maybe I throw Aleem McNeil out there and let him play a little bit of edge. This is a guy who played high school running back. Like let's not sleep on his athleticism. Maybe I'm throwing DJ Reader out there. I'm throwing Tyleek Williams. I'm throwing Aleem McNeil, and I'm throwing Aiden Hutchinson out there in certain situations. Like, this defensive line is more exciting than people are giving it credit for. I think stuff can get wild with these guys, man. Hey, Aleem can play stunt games. Levi Onwuzurike can play stunt games, man. It's it can get fun out there, man. I've even seen Talik Williams at Ohio State playing stunt games, man. So and we already know Aiden can play anywhere on this defensive line. This thing could get fun, and I still haven't even given up on that 3-4 situation. We can play some. I don't think that we'll be going exclusively to a 3-4 now that I've seen the draft, but I will say I think that Casey Rogers is going to talk Coach Shep into just sticking his feet in the water every now and then. You might see a 3 front here and there. Detroit Lions defense is going to be exciting this year. I can't wait to see what it turns into.
I understand completely people's criticism of Marcus Davenport. I'm critical of him myself, but he is the biggest X factor on this defense. Well, if he plays 17 games and he's even a fraction of what he was at his early days in New Orleans, fully healthy, he's literally the one player that could literally transform this defense into elite, because he's unblockable on the other side at times, and he's just absolutely powerful. It just opens up so much for this defense, and we'll just have rotations of guys. Even if he's healthy, I still want Zidarius Smith, but I understand, and I love the contract that Marcus is on. It's very, very team friendly. If he messes around and plays 17 games on a $1 million contract, we're going to have the best defensive line in the NFL with him. And then you can throw in Zidarius Smith, and I could say the same exact thing. If something happens and Marcus gets hurt, Zidarius would just kind of be the contingency plan that I can also have as a starter or a rotational piece. If Hutch needs a break, hey, go rush from that side. If Marcus needs a break, hey, go rush from the other side. Like, he's just a Swiss Army knife. But if Marcus Davenport is healthy, William, he was my X factor last year. It didn't work out. He only played like 2-3 games. Just, oh my gosh, it just excites me. Like that's my biggest wish for the Lions this year is Marcus Davenport stays healthy. Like, Hutch stay healthy. Those two, like, we won't even be talking about what Brad Holmes didn't draft, because a lot of people are just kind of writing him off. And sometimes I do the same thing, that Marcus Davenport's bound to get hurt. Like, history has shown me that that's probably the case, but if we just have a little bit of luck go our way and he stays healthy, William, it's a wrap. I'll see you at the Super Bowl. I don't even know what the Super Bowl is this year, but I'll see you there. I'll see you on the plane.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Anything else tonight?
No, man. Excited to see what happens with this Zidarius Smith saga, man. I've just been at my phone just every time Twitter goes off.
I'm going to start tagging you in random things and just getting you really excited now on Twitter. Just, you won't sleep for a week. I'm just going to get you all worked up.
He's going to sign probably in the next 15 minutes, so I'm not worried about it anymore.
He probably signed while we were recording this, if I'm being honest with you. But stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.